After 12 heartwarming months of hopelessness, an incredible Maid revealed a life-changing truth. Lucy, a single mother, had been fighting an uphill battle. Every morning, the sun kissed the roof of her small, worn-out apartment, waking her up before the kids stirred. In those moments, she'd steal a breath, hoping today wouldn't be as heavy as the last. But it rarely was. With 2 jobs to juggle and bills to pay, Lucy lived in a constant state of race. The weight of economic inequality pressed against her shoulders, the judgment from her neighbors squeezing her heart. One blistering summer afternoon, as the sun beat down on her back while she cleaned the local gym, her mind drifted to Mia and Jake. All she wanted was a moment, just a spark of laughter shared over homemade cookies in their tiny kitchen. Instead, despair lingered like a persistent cloud, blocking her path to stability. When Mia raced through the door, bubbling with excitement about her school project, Lucy felt her heart swell. But her joy quickly dashed when Mia mentioned the mocking voices of classmates calling her poor because of her clothes. That tugged deeper than any physical pain. Lucy felt her heartache choke her, felt her chest tighten. Was she not enough? Tears blurred her vision as she held her daughter close, whispering words of encouragement, all while her own fears taunted her in the shadows. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As fall rolled in, with its crisp air and rustling leaves, things took an unexpected turn. Just as Lucy felt the warmth of support from her elderly neighbor, Mr. Thompson, who shared stories of resilience, the community rallied around her. She hadn't expected this wave of kindness, but it left her feeling hopeful for the first time in ages. Yet, a miscommunication soon turned that spark into chaos. One small error at the community fundraiser sent uncertainty crashing like waves against her fragile hopes. Lucy felt the comforting warmth of the community start to shimmer and fade. She stood still in that cold autumn wind, confusion taking over. Could these neighbors, who had once looked down on her, truly see her for who she was? As winter settled in and the nights grew long, that tension escalated to a daunting crescendo. An unexpected challenge loomed on the horizon, dark and heavy, threatening to shatter everything she held dear. All her past struggles, her efforts, would they be for nothing? Lucy found herself staring into the chilly night, the weight of her choices hanging heavy in the air. In that moment of solitude, would she discover the strength needed to rise against it all? Or would the misconceptions of others push her back into despair? The questions hung there, unanswered, like the bittersweet scent of snow beginning to fall. Lucy stood at the window, watching the snowflakes dance in the streetlight's glow. Each drift felt like a quiet promise, a chance for something new. But as the chills settled into her bones, doubt crept into her heart. Was she strong enough to face what lay ahead? The next morning, the sun rose weakly, casting pale rays over the yard. Jake tugged on her sleeve, his bright eyes full of innocence. "Mom, can we build a snowman today?" His excitement cut through the blanket of anxiety that had enveloped her. She forced a smile, nodding as her heart constricted with worry. They needed warmth both in their home and in their spirits. "Of course, buddy. Let us make the biggest snowman ever." But even as she spoke, the worry gnawed at her. Would there be enough food for the week? Could she afford the small presents she wanted to get the kids this Christmas? Deep down, Lucy wanted to say yes to everything, yes to laughter, to joy, to a carefree day filled with snowball fights. Outside, the world transformed into a winter wonderland. Laughter rang out, filling the air with lightness as she and Jake tumbled into the snow. The chaos melted away for a moment, as they packed the snow and molded it into shapes. Mia soon joined, her cheeks rosy with excitement, and as they created their frosty friend together, Lucy savored the sound of their giggles. But when the laughter faded, reality crashed back down. Their harmless fun drove home the fact that her children still sensed the tension. Mia stared at her hands, which had become still, and nodded with worry. "Mom, About the fundraiser, she murmured hesitantly, as if afraid of the answer. Placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, Lucy reassured Mia. Sweetheart, everything will be okay. I just need to fix a few things. You'll see. But inside, doubt clawed away at her resolve. How could she fix things when she didn't even know where to start? The shadow of failure loomed large, making each task seem insurmountable. As they finished the snowman, Jake took a step back and shouted, "Look, Mom. He is beautiful." All at once, the moment felt electric. Lucy marveled at how this simple snowman had brought them together, the way their bond shone brighter than any material thing. That night, as the kids snuggled under warm blankets, Lucy sat alone in the dim light of the living room, her fingers tracing the edge of the holiday decorations. She couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Was she strong enough to make it through? Suddenly, the flicker of hope ignited within her. Mr. Thompson had mentioned community support, hadn't he? What if they could work together? She grabbed her phone, her heart pounding, and began typing a message in the community group. I need help organizing a winter gathering. We could use it this year more than ever. As she hit send, a rush of exhilaration coursed through her veins. What if this was the turning point she'd been waiting for? But even as the adrenaline buzzed, the answer felt far away. Would her neighbors be willing to join her? Would they put aside their past judgments? As she gazed out into the night, the blanket of snow sparkled, reflecting her simmering hopes. Would her call for help bring people closer, or would it only deepen her sense of isolation? The answers lingered in the shadowy corners of her mind as winter descended, thick and heavy like her thoughts, leaving her breathless. And at that moment, she knew the community either had the power to lift her up or plunge her deeper into despair. What would she find waiting for her? Lucy awoke to the sound of her phone chiming, a warm glow illuminating the edges of her dark room. With a mix of hope and apprehension, she reached for it, her heart racing as she glanced at the screen. The community group had responded. The messages flooded in, filled with encouragement and excitement about the winter gathering. Some offered to help with organizing, others promised to bring food, and a few even mentioned setting up activities for the kids. Her heart swelled. This was the support she had longed for, the connection that felt impossibly distant just days ago. Mom, are we really going to have a gathering? Jake's voice, curious and hopeful, broke her reverie. Lucy turned to him, unable to contain her smile. We sure are, buddy. It looks like everyone wants to come together. Mia bounded down the stairs, eyes wide with surprise. Really? With all the decorations and everything? Even more than that, she replied, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spreading through her. We're going to make hot cocoa, play games, and maybe even have a little party. Yay! Jake jumped, his giggles filling the room. But as the excitement bubbled around them, Lucy couldn't shake the pang of worry deep within. What if it all fell apart? What if the gathering exposed her shortcomings instead of bringing the community together? The days flew by in a whirlwind of planning. Lights twinkled in the living room, and glittering decorations adorned every corner, each piece later than the last. Lucy organized a small committee, including Mrs. Thompson, who was bustling with ideas and laughter. As they worked side by side, old rifts began to fade. Neighbors she hadn't spoken to in years shared recipes and memories. The warmth of community was creeping back, one cheerful conversation at a time. Still, doubt lingered. At night, after the kids were tucked in, Lucy often found herself at the window again, staring out into the snowy night. Was she foolish to hope for a joyful gathering when the past still cast a long shadow over her? The day of the gathering arrived in a flurry of snow, the air thick with anticipation. Lucy could barely contain her energy as she hurried about the house, setting up tables and ensuring everything was perfect. Moments before the event started, she took a step back and looked at her home. It was warm, lively, filled with the scent of cinnamon and evergreen. The doorbell rang, and her heart raced. As she opened the door, laughter greeted her. Friendly faces filled her porch, neighbors, and friends she hadn't expected. Everyone she'd reached out to in her message. They came, arms laden with food, supplies, and good cheer. The room filled with joy, smiles ignited like lanterns in the night. Lucy, Mr. Thompson's lively voice broke through the chatter. What a wonderful turnout. You should be proud. But as Lucy scanned the faces around her, a mix of nerves bubbled within. The warmth of their presence contrasted sharply with her unease. Deep breath, you can do this, she thought as she stepped forward, ready to embrace not just the gathered crowd but the future ahead. Just then, Jake tugged her sleeve. Mom, can we make a toast? To family and friends. His innocent request turned her heart inside out. Tears pricked at her eyes as she smiled at him, then at the crowd. Yes, let us celebrate all of us coming together. Just as they raised their cups filled with cocoa, a loud crash echoed behind her. Lucy turned, panic surging as she saw the heavy table wobbling dangerously, one of the legs giving out. In that instant of chaos, she realized, could this gathering hold more than mere celebration? Would it also be a moment that defines her future? As she rushed over to steady the table, a thought flickered in her mind. This was only the beginning. But what other truths would emerge from this gathering? What might the chaos reveal? Lucy leaned forward, hands gripping the edge of the table as she steadied it. The laughter and chatter around her faded into a distant hum, her focus narrow and intense. As the table settled, she felt a wave of relief, but it was quickly swallowed by another wave of uncertainty. Her eyes darted around the room, connecting with familiar faces now gleaming with optimism and goodwill. Everyone had come together, ready to share joy. Yet, here she was, teetering on the edge of doubt. The warmth of their smiles felt hardened by the past. Memories she had tried to tuck away surfacing like old ghosts. Mom, is everything okay? Jake's voice pulled her back, his big eyes wide with concern. She knelt down to his level, forcing a smile. It's just a little bump, sweetheart. We're all good now. Still, the unease gnawed at her. She wasn't just fighting against wobbly tables. She was battling her own insecurities, the nagging fear of no one truly understanding her struggles. Maybe we should have a game. That'll make us all feel better. Mia piped up, her excitement infectious. Lucy couldn't help but smile at her daughter's sweet enthusiasm. Great idea. What do you all want to play? Lucy asked, her voice easing into the comfort of the familiar. She felt that spark again, the essence of community kindling within her. As they moved to the wide-open space of the living room, laughter morphed into cheers. Groups formed around tables, eager to compete, to bond, to create new memories. Lucy's heart lightened. Maybe this was her chance to embrace the warmth around her, to let go of the past just a little. But middle of a lively charades game, her phone buzzed anxiously in her pocket. Temporarily excusing herself, she stepped into the adjacent hallway. A knot twisted in her stomach when she saw the name on the screen: Sarah, her estranged sister. Memories of their last argument surged like a tidal wave, threatening the facade of happiness she'd built throughout the day. Taking a deep breath, she pressed answer, the connection immediate yet foreign. Lucy? It's Sarah, came the cautious voice from the other end. Hi, Lucy replied, her voice catching. Listen, I know it's been a while, but I see you're having a gathering. Can I come? The hesitancy in Sarah's tone was palpable. Every instinct screamed at her to say no. The warmth of her gathering, the peace she'd finally found, felt threatened. Yet, she also remembered the damage of prolonged silence, the missed moments that could never be replaced. Yeah, of course. Please, come, she found herself saying before she could talk herself out of it. Really? Wow, I thank you. I'll be there soon. Lucy hung up, her heart racing. The thought of Sarah joining them filled her with trepidation and hope. What would her sister bring with her shadows of the past, or a bridge to a new beginning? As she returned to the party, laughter surrounded her. Children were dancing, women were hugging, men were feigning victory. But the thrill of it all felt strangely muted. Lucy thought of the mingled emotions awaiting unity, laughter stitched with hesitation. Just then, the door swung open, and in poured a gust of cold air, followed by Sarah's figure wrapped in a thick coat. Lucy's pulse quickened as she met her sister's gaze. Both filled with unspoken words, in this gathering of celebration, they were about to confront the ghosts that had lingered far too long. It was a moment that could unravel or reweave the fabric of their family. How would this night shape their relationship, and what repercussions would ripple out from this very instant? Lucy's heart raced as she took a tentative step towards Sarah, the familiar warmth of the room now feeling distant. The laughter that echoed around them faded into silence as guests turned their attention to the sisters, the air thick with an unsaid tension. Hey, Sarah started, her voice quieter than Lucy remembered. She looked different, more subdued, maybe. There was a softness in her eyes that felt foreign after all the hurt. Hey, Lucy replied, her throat dry. The decades spent apart seemed to collapse into this single moment, heavy and charged. Is it okay if I join the game? Sarah glanced back at Jake and Mia, who were engaged in a lively dispute over charade guesses. Of course, Lucy said, attempting to welcome her sister with genuine openness. It's all fun and games in here. As they moved back into the living room, Lucy noticed subtle shifts. The way Sarah knotted her fingers together, casting anxious glances at the kids, told Lucy just how much her sister was trying to bridge the gap. The laughter resumed, but it was different now, layered with uncertainty. They settled near the others, and soon the game resumed. Lucy watched as Sarah fumbled to explain the gestures for Dancing Bear. Jake and Mia burst into giggles, and a lightness momentarily softened Sarah's features. It was a small but significant victory, one that made Lucy's heart swell with a glimmer of hope. But as laughter roared around them, the old ghosts whispered, tugging at her heart. The unresolved arguments, the bitter words they had exchanged, and the years of silence they lingered ominously at the edges of their newfound unity. Lucy? Sarah's voice broke through her thoughts, full of hesitation. The game paused as the room went silent again. Can we talk later? Lucy's stomach churned. Part of her wanted to run, to hide from the weight of it all. But she caught a glimpse of Mia, her daughter's innocent smile lighting up the room. Lucy drew on the strength she'd found that night, the aim of putting faith into rebuilding. Yeah, she said simply. When everyone leaves. Sarah nodded, her expression both relieved and apprehensive. The game went on, but Lucy's thoughts wandered. She caught snippets of Sarah's laughter and saw glimpses of the sister she once knew buried beneath years of resentment. As the evening stretched on, more guests trickled out, not without expressing joy in reckless abandon. The kids remained, however, playing on with energy that could barely be contained. Finally, with only Mia and Jake still racing around, Sarah sighed, brushing a hand through her hair absently. The living room felt almost peaceful, yet both women knew that peace was just the calm before the storm. Can we sit? Lucy suggested, gesturing towards the couch. The cushions felt like a fragile bridge, one that might either support them or buckle under their weight. Okay. Sarah took a seat slowly, her body language betraying her stress. They sat across from each other, the space between them charged with intention. Lucy's eyes locked onto her sister's, searching for connection or perhaps understanding. Lucy, I've missed you, Sarah finally said, a tremor in her voice. I missed you too, Lucy whispered back, tears threatening to spill. But as they began to navigate through the turbulent waters of their shared history, Lucy wondered, could they find their way back to each other? Would the truth that lingered on the tip of Sarah's tongue bring healing or deepen their wounds? The night was far from over, and with every heartbeat, the promise of change loomed, waiting for them to take that next step together. What were they willing to uncover? Would this night mark the beginning of a new chapter, or would the shadows of their past continue to haunt them? Sarah inhaled, and the silence stretched out, thick as molasses. Lucy watched the rise and fall of her sister's shoulders, almost symphonic in their orchestration of unspoken emotions. It struck Lucy then how fragile this moment felt. They had long been bridged by shared memories and tender remembrances, but the ravine of hurt between them seemed deeper than ever. Tell me, what has been going on with you? Lucy ventured, her voice softer than she intended. It felt daring, like stepping onto ice that might crack beneath her. Sarah hesitated, a moment that elongated as though time itself were holding its breath. It's a long story, but I think you deserve to know. Her gaze flickered around the room, as if hoping for a distraction, before settling back on Lucy's expectant eyes. The last few years have been tough, Luce. I lost my job, Jason, while Sarah's voice faltered, and she swallowed hard, fighting against the truth. What happened with him really shook me. It felt like the ground just disappeared beneath me. Whenever I think about you, about us, I question if I ever did the right thing. I should have reached out. I should have tried harder. Lucy felt a pang in her heart. Memories of angry phone calls and slammed doors twisted painfully in her chest. I thought you didn't take care. It felt like you chose distance over family, she whispered, her own voice trembling under the weight of those words. I was scared, Sarah admitted, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Life hit me hard, and I didn't know how to reach back to you. So I built walls instead of bridges. They fell into silence again, the kind that echoed through years lost to miscommunication. Lucy's heart swelled, but with it came a familiarity of pain, the grief of estranged years that couldn't be reclaimed. What about Jason? Lucy asked, leaning in slightly. It felt strange to replay the past, but she needed to understand the context. He wanted something different, and I held on too tightly, Sarah exhaled shakily. In the end, it suffocated our relationship. I thought I was trying to keep it together, but I was really just holding on to something that was already gone. The weight of her sister's words sat heavily between them, like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples of recognition. Lucy had been there, too, clinging to a relationship that had once felt alive. I get it, Sarah. I really do. Just as the tension began to lift, Sarah's voice broke through the silence again. Lucy, there's something I need to tell you. The day everything happened between us. It wasn't just you. I made choices that pushed you away, and I learned that those choices have consequences. But there's something else. Lucy's breath hitched in her throat. She could see it in Sarah's eyes. There was more to say, a truth lurking just out of reach. What are you trying to tell me? We're family, and I want to fix this. But you need to know that I didn't just lose Jason. I lost something bigger, the chance to have you in my life. I want to change that, Luce. We can't waste any more time. Before Sarah could finish, the door swung open, and Mia and Jake rushed in, faces flushed with laughter. Can we have a snack? Jake shouted, breaking the tension like a glass shattering on tile. Lucy and Sarah exchanged a glance, the moment fractured but not lost. The children's exuberance wrapped around them like a warm blanket. We'll be right there, Lucy responded, her heart thumping with both urgency and nostalgia. As the kids bounded to the kitchen, the sisters sat in quietude, thoughts swirling in the aftermath of what they had just begun to uncover. There was still a distance, a mountain yet to climb, but together felt more possible now. Turning to Sarah, Lucy whispered, can we pick this up later tonight? I don't want to lose that connection we just found. Sarah nodded, her eyes brightening with hope. Definitely. But as they gathered themselves to join the kids, Lucy felt that familiar sense of unease creeping in. There were things unspoken still hanging in the air, things that could change everything. Okay, but promise me you'll tell me about the truth you were about to share, Lucy said as they followed the laughter into the kitchen. Promise, Sarah replied, and though the promise felt fragile, it stirred something in Lucy, a breath of anticipation. Tonight might just be the catalyst for everything to shift. As they stepped into the light of the kitchen, Lucy couldn't help but wonder if more than just food was being served tonight. Would the weight of their past continue to overshadow their future? Or was there a way to reclaim what they both thought was lost? Lucy entered the kitchen, the aroma of peanut butter and jelly wrapping around her like a familiar embrace. Jake and Mia were already gathered around the table, their small hands busy assembling their snacks with the feverish energy only kids could possess. Laughter buzzed in the air, lifting some of the weight that had settled on Lucy's shoulders. Watch me, Jake exclaimed, balancing a spoon on his nose, a goofy grin plastered on his face. Mia squealed in delight, clapping her hands. In that moment, the tension between Lucy and Sarah faded into the background, overshadowed by the innocent joy radiating from the children. But as Lucy spread peanut butter onto a slice of bread, she felt a twinge of anxiety tugging at her heart. The evening loomed ahead, filled with the promise of deeper truths, yet uncertainty lingered. What could that truth possibly be? Would it heal them or fracture them further? Mom, can you help me with this? Mia's tiny voice interrupted Lucy's thoughts. She turned to her daughter, ready to dive into the delight of simple parenting. Of course. What do you need? Lucy moved closer, the little girl's face lighting up with excitement as she pointed to her half-assembled sandwich. I want to make it a smiley face. With a chuckle, Lucy grabbed a few chocolate chips from a bowl nearby, carefully placing them for eyes atop the spread. It was the little things like this that reminded her of what was truly important. Her heart ached thinking about the bigger issues at hand. Yet in such moments, the present felt blissfully rich. While the kids reveled in laughter and playfulness, Sarah leaned against the counter, observing the interactions. Her expression shifted more than once, from joy watching her sister parent to a deeper, contemplative frown. It was clear that she was wrestling with her own batch of emotions. "Hey, want to help me with dessert?" Lucy broke the silence, her voice already pregnant with unspoken encouragement. "I was planning on baking those chocolate chip cookies you love." Sarah nodded, stepping closer, but hesitation lingered. "I'd love that. It's been ages since we did that together." She hesitated, then added softly, "We used to make them all the time, didn't we?" "Yes, we did," Lucy smiled. The kitchen always turned into a battlefield of flour and spilled chocolate chips. They shared a fleeting laugh, memories resurfacing like floating leaves on a stream as they measured out ingredients. The rhythm of their routine felt familiar. Stirring together flour and sugar evoked fragments of the past baking evenings filled with music and hopes. Yet Sarah's unspoken words loomed heavy above them, threading joy with apprehension. "Sarah," Lucy said, her heart skipping a beat. "Tonight about what you were going to say before the kids came in." She let the sentence hang, waiting for Sarah to take the reins. But Sarah bit her lip, uncertain. "Yes." A loud crash interrupted her, followed by an uproar of giggles as Jake toppled over a chair, pretending to be a clumsy dinosaur. Lucy rushed to check on him, relief washing over her when she saw that he was fine, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Doesn't he just dip into mischief so easily?" Sarah chuckled, and for a fleeting moment, the tension dissolved. "Always. It keeps life interesting, right?" But again, the moment slipped through Lucy's fingers. They returned to baking, but Lucy could see the storm brewing in her sister's eyes, one that needed to be addressed. "After they go to bed, I really need you to share," Lucy urged, her voice dipping low. Sarah nodded, obviously wrestling with her own thoughts. "Okay, I promise. But can we make some extra cookies for later?" Lucy offered a bright smile, hiding her worry behind a cheerful facade. "Of course. We'll need a stash for midnight snacks and late-night chats." As the sugar-scented air wrapped around them, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that this was a moment of a much bigger shift. What truth would Sarah reveal? Would it shatter the fragile harmony they were building, or bolster it into something stronger? With each cookie they formed, Lucy felt the anticipation quicken in her chest. Tonight could redefine everything. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, a small, sharp interruption that pulled them into another unexpected twist. Who could that be? Lucy wondered aloud, casting a glance toward Sarah, whose eyes mirrored her curiosity and a flicker of apprehension. "Let us find out, I guess," Sarah breathed, as both sisters braced themselves for another layer of the night ahead. Lucy approached the door, her heart racing slightly. The unexpected visitor had stirred something inside her, an unsettling blend of curiosity and fear. She paused, glancing back at Sarah, who wore a mask of intrigue mixed with anxiety. "Are you ready?" Lucy asked, raising an eyebrow, as if that small question could somehow prepare them for anything. Sarah nodded, pushing herself off the counter with more determination than she felt, stepping toward her sister. With a quick inhale, Lucy swung open the door. Standing before them was an older woman, her hair loosely tied back with a colorful scarf. Her eyes sparkled with warmth, yet there was an urgency to her posture that sent a shiver down Lucy's spine. "Hello, I'm Agnes," the woman said, her voice soft yet authoritative. "I'm here about Sarah." Lucy instinctively stepped forward. "What do you mean? How do you know my sister?" Agnes's eyes flicked to Sarah, then back to Lucy. "I've been sent to talk to her. It's about the past, things that need to be addressed before they can properly move forward." Every word felt heavy, like stones sinking into a pond. Sarah's eyes widened, her breath hitching at the mention of her past, an unspoken weight that both suffocated and intrigued. "Wait," Lucy interjected, her protective instincts kicking in. "What kind of things? You can't just come here and say things like that without explaining." Agnes nodded, reassuringly this time. "I understand. It's not easy for me to reach out, but Sarah and we have a history." She hesitated for a moment, drawing in a deep breath. "There are truths that she deserves to know, and perhaps some that you need to understand as well." Lucy felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. "This isn't how we do things. Sarah deserves to tell her own story, not have it thrust upon her." She crossed her arms, suddenly feeling like a fortress guarding her sister's heart. But Sarah took a step forward, her expression strangely focused. No, Lucy. Maybe this is what I need. I've been avoiding it for so long. Lucy's heart plummeted. Are you sure? I am, Sarah said, firm and steady. I've felt lost in my own life, tangled in secrets that keep me from truly moving forward. Maybe this is the chance to finally take control. Agnes smiled, the kind of smile that felt like a warm blanket, yet it held shadows of something deeper. It's about courage, dear Sarah. Sometimes the most difficult paths lead to healing. Tension thickened the air around them, an emotional storm gathering closer. Lucy's head spun. The thought of Sarah uncovering something that might hurt her closer than they'd ever been was terrifying. Yet, that familiar feeling of being tangled in the past crept at the edges of her mind. How many times had she buried her own truths to maintain peace? Okay, Sarah said, her voice rising above the rest. Let us talk. Lucy felt a variety of emotions crashing within her. Concern, love, worry, and a sliver of hope all converged into a whirlwind that made her stomach churn. Could this be the raw honesty their relationship needed, or would it tear them apart? Agnes's presence was a palpable energy, buzzing with unspoken revelations. As Sarah took a seat at the kitchen table, Lucy and Agnes exchanged a silent glance filled with questions. What truths were buried there, waiting to unravel? Could this vast unknown finally break the hold of the past and guide them towards a brighter future? Just as she turned to speak, another crash came from the living room, a sound that snapped all attention away from the heavy air. They glanced toward the source, where Mia and Jake were in a playful scuffle, laughter spilling over the chaos. Kids, Lucy shouted with a nervous laugh, trying to ease the tension with their familiar energy. But deep down, a new fear stirred within her, wrapping around her heart. If they were facing the past, what new chaos awaited them in the present? Agnes looked back at Sarah, her expression solemn, and uttered words that echoed through the room like a distant thunderclap. What's revealed tonight could change everything. Lucy's breath caught, an uncertain knot of anticipation forming in her throat. Would they emerge stronger, or would this revelation bring storms they couldn't bear? And as Sarah met Agnes's gaze, an electric charge crackled between them, ushering in the silence that begged for answers. The kitchen felt too small suddenly, the walls closing in as the weight of Agnes's words settled among them. Sarah's determination shone in her eyes, but Lucy's heart twisted with anxiety. She was afraid of what might emerge from the shadows of their past. Agnes took a deep breath, steadying herself. There's much we need to unpack, Sarah. It might be difficult to hear, but it's essential. Can't you just give us a hint? Lucy pleaded, her voice trembling. What kind of past are we talking about? Lucy, please, Sarah said gently. If it's my story to hear, I need to hear it. I want to know. The flicker of fear crossed Lucy's face, but she swallowed it down. Okay, but I won't let you go through this alone. Agnes nodded, appreciating Lucy's protective nature. All right, let us start at the beginning. There is a part of your childhood that has been kept from you, Sarah. It's about your mother. The moment those words left Agnes's lips, the air felt thicker, like a heavy fog rolling in. Sarah's breath hitched again, and Lucy felt her heart drop further. The tales of their mother had always been tangled in mystery, a figure both revered and feared, cloaked in whispers and unanswered questions. I remember bits, Sarah admitted, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the tablecloth. But I never knew what really happened. Agnes leaned in closer, her voice softer but firm. Your mother faced struggles, battles of her own. She made decisions that impacted your lives heavily. And there were truths that she deeply regretted keeping from you both. They shadow everything you do, Sarah. They have driven a wedge between you and your true self. What kind of decisions? Lucy interrupted, now close to breaking. She had always felt a gap, a distant echo in their lives tied to their mother that still reverberated, but she had never dared to question it. Agnes hesitated, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for words among the clutter. There were secrets about family, relationships, struggles against circumstances that you never knew. She chose to hide them because she believed it would protect you. But all it did was build walls. Stop, Sarah said, swallowing hard. She drew a shuddering breath, but pressed on. Please, tell me. What was she hiding? Agnes searched Sarah's face, weighing her resolve. Your mother had family long before the ones who raised you. And within that family, there were traumas and losses that resonated through generations. Traumas? Lucy echoed. What kind of, but she held back. The words felt heavy in her mouth. Your mother, she had a sister, Agnes explained slowly. But life pushed them apart, and it caused a fracture that rippled through your lives, tearing at the fabric of your family. Sarah's eyes glimmered with unshed tears. She seemed to be grappling with something deep, a yearning for connection. A sister? Why didn't I ever know? Because of fear. Of shame, Agnes said, her tone palpable with compassion. There was deep love, but also a misunderstanding that led to silence. Tonight, we can begin to break that silence. Lucy looked at her sister, their bond feeling both fragile and solid at the same time. She wanted to protect Sarah but understood this yearning for truth, even if it terrified her. What if this truth breaks us instead? Lucy whispered, half to herself. Agnes's gaze turned steady, infused with warmth. Sometimes, what you fear the most is precisely what you need to heal. The words hung heavily in the air, waiting for someone to address them, to embrace them. As the clock ticked, shadows stretched across the room. Sarah looked from Agnes to Lucy, her heart racing. I want to know. I need to know. Lucy nodded, feelings swirling like a storm inside her. With the past opening like a flower, she prepared for whatever might grow from the truth, whatever flowers or thorns it might bring. Just then, another loud crash echoed from the living room this time. It was accompanied by laughter that quickly shifted to startled cries. Kids! Lucy yelled, pulling herself out of her tumult of emotions and dashing to the doorway. What were Mia and Jake getting into now? But as she turned to leave, she felt Sarah's hand reach for hers, anchoring her. This was only the beginning, and she couldn't shake the feeling that what lay ahead would challenge everything they knew about their family. And buried beneath the chaos, questions raced in Lucy's mind. Could this twin sister from the past hold the key to understanding the future? The laughter and scuffling from the living room mixed with Lucy's racing heart, leaving her breathless. She turned back to Sarah and Agnes, their eyes wide with uncertainty. Then for a fleeting moment, she felt the weight of sisterhood wrap around them again, both past and present. The laughter echoed like an invitation, an urging to reclaim joy amidst the impending revelations. Let us go see what they're up to, Lucy said, her voice steadier than she felt. She led the way, holding Sarah's hand like a lifeline. It felt like stepping into a new light, hopeful yet anxious, as if they were on the cusp of something significant unfolding. As they entered the living room, chaos reigned. Jake and Mia were caught mid-tumble. The coffee table had been pushed aside amid brightly colored building blocks scattered across the floor, showcasing their latest masterpiece, a tower taller than they were. Look, Mom. Look, Aunt Sarah. Jake shouted excitedly, pointing at the wobbly structure. Amid the wreckage of play, innocence throbbed in the air. Wow, it's amazing, Lucy exclaimed, clapping her hands as the tension eased. The kids erupted in giggles, their playful energy infectious, filling the room with warmth. Time for a snack, Sarah declared, her earlier apprehension melting as she joined the chase to catch Jake. For a moment, the sisters observed the laughter and delight of their children, the fear of the past blurred by joyful engagement in the present. It was a simple reminder that life, in all its uncertainty, offered pockets of sunlight. As the kids settled, munching on cookies and chatting excitedly about their next adventure, the air thickened with unspoken truths. Sarah leaned into the kitchen island, glancing at Lucy, her eyes ready to dive into the deeper waters once more. Lucy felt apprehension, a gentle pull reminding her of the delicate balance they stood upon. I think we should talk, Sarah said quietly, her voice slightly trembling against the backdrop of joyful noise. Yeah, let us dive in now, Lucy replied, determination lacing her words. Tonight needed to mark a turning point, a step toward healing. With the kids happily distracted, they led Agnes back into the kitchen, reclaiming the space where dough and stories had once melded joyfully. Sarah's resolve seemed stronger, awakening something deep in Lucy, a flicker of hope that sweetness could emerge from bitter memories. Agnes, please continue, Lucy urged, her eyes focused on Sarah, who was chewing her lip in anticipation. Agnes drew in a deep breath. Your mother's sister was named Emma. She passed away before you could meet, but her life was intertwined with secrets. Secrets that became burdens too heavy for your mother to carry alone. Lucy felt a pang of sadness ripple through her. This unexpected revelation opened a door to a different kind of family history, a mosaic of loss and buried dreams. "What happened to Emma?" Sarah asked, her voice wavering as tears glossed over her eyes. "She struggled with addiction," Agnes replied gently, her words hanging heavy in the air. "Your mother tried to save her, but it became a battle that pushed them apart instead. Emma eventually sought refuge elsewhere, and your mother carried the guilt of that separation. She feared that if you knew, it would create an image of family that would be too painful for you to bear." Lucy felt her heart ache for her sister. She could see the reflection of all of their fears etched across Sarah's face: fear of rejection, the weight of familial ties, and the deep-seated need to understand one's true roots. "So, we were kept in the dark to protect us? But it ended up hurting us more," Sarah murmured, eyes shining with unshed tears. "Perhaps," Agnes acknowledged, "but knowing can free you to rewrite the narrative. You and Lucy have the power to redefine your story." Lucy reached forward, placing a hand over Sarah's. "Together, we can find a way forward. One where alleys of fear become bridges of hope." A silence fell, deep and contemplative, allowing each of them a moment to absorb the gravity of those words. The echoes of laughter in the hallway felt distant, the kids still immersed in their world of play. Just then, Jake and Mia burst through the door, interrupting their moment with the blazing energy only children possessed. "A snowball fight outside. You should come," they cried in unison. Lucy glanced back at Sarah, her heart fluttering at the idea of embracing life with such open arms, leaving behind shards of the past. Perhaps this was the moment they had been waiting for, a gathering of hearts healing through connection. "Okay," Lucy decided, her voice tinged with excitement. "Let us go have this snowball fight." Sarah smiled brightly, momentarily taking the weight off her chest. The reminder of joy pushed through the uncertainty, pushing them to step outside into the crisp winter air. It felt like shedding old skins, leaving stories behind, ready to embrace transformations as they bundled up, heading towards the snowy backyard. Lucy felt a quiet optimism settle within her. For the first time, the future didn't feel scared or dark. It sparkled with possibility, like the fresh snowflakes dancing in the moonlight, with laughter swelling around them. The shadows of the past felt less oppressive, like they were fading, becoming mere background noise against the symphony of love and connection they had reclaimed. Hand in hand, with assurance and hope, Lucy and Sarah stepped into the cold night, ready to embrace whatever awaited them and transform their shared story into one of resilience, laughter, and unbreakable bonds. That it was a new dawn rising, one full of healing together. Now is the time for you to embrace emotions that aren't just skimming the surface. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will bring warmth to your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. This is the moment to show your support. Comment on your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the power of sharing heartfelt stories.